I'm determined on running, but I think it's important that I allay fears by let them see me out there. Let me see them out. For the longest time it was, Biden's not prepared to sit with us unscripted. Biden's not prepared to, anyway. And so what I'm doing is, and I've been doing, I think we've done over 20 major events from Wisconsin to North Carolina to demonstrate that I'm going out in the areas where we think we can win, where we can persuade people to move our way.
Probably know by now, popcorn sales soaring. First was the debate. Remember, first was the debate. Who must see TV? Then Stephanopoulos. People lined up at their sets last night, waiting for 6:30. Waiting for 6:30.
And then Monday it'll be the interview with Lester Holt.
Right, a NATO news conference.
I know everybody is watching it.
NATO
Can you imagine?
News conference. It's really unbelievable. Joining us now, Alex Thompson is a national correspondent for Axios. It's almost like Alex, almost appointment TV, almost a sporting event. And I'm just going to put this out to you, and then you can disagree with me. For me, I wish I could bet on it with DraftKings. And I wish I would have bet on Biden. Biden last night for the win, for the W. Disloyal, feet of clay Democrats in vulnerable areas for the L. That's what I saw last night. What'd you see?
I think you saw a president that is very dug in and has no intention of getting out of this race. And he and his inner team have a disconnect with a lot of these Democrats. The thing you have to understand about Joe Biden's team, and he articulated it both last night and in the interview with George Stephanopoulos, which is that he believes he's the most electable Democrat against Donald Trump. And if you believe that, why would you take yourself out of this race just because a few, House Democrats are complaining and worried about their own races?
But Alex, what indicated to you last night that he was any less cogent or lucid than 84-year-old Nancy Pelosi, 85-year-old Steny Hoyer? He had a grasp of the issues last night. I think Democrats at this point have a tough time even making the case that he's no. Now, I disagree with almost everything he says in policy and everything else, but we'd have the same with Kamala Harris. But this is the same guy that I saw a year ago. He starts whispering and he has that weird smile that comes at inappropriate time. But it's the same guy. He was loose. Do you think he had dementia last night and was unable to put thoughts together about foreign policy and policy in general?
Well, I'm not going to say the D word on national TV, but I will say that no, I mean he did have a command of the issues, and foreign policy has been one of his hobby horses. Is clearly the issue that he feels the most passionate about, going back to his time on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. And you can tell in interviews when they ask him about, why elect you for a second term? Beyond beating Trump, foreign policy is often one of his focuses. Now, of course, some of the substance of his remarks was undermined by a few notable gaffes, including earlier in the day introducing President Zelensky as President Putin, referring to Vice President Kamala Harris as Vice President Trump. But agreed. I mean, if you are a Democrat that desperately wants Joe Biden to drop out of the race, last night was not helpful.
No, I agree. And I still, earlier someone said politics is a really dirty business. Okay, I get that. But, a lot of these people were full on in the Biden camp until some of the poll numbers after the debate and what it meant for down ballot races. You can just look at the people that are most outspoken and the earliest ones. Look where they're located. Look at what their prospects for re-election are, and you can see where they're coming down on this.
Absolutely. And what we're really it'll be very fascinating to see with the second round of polling, probably coming later this week. The July 4th holiday really made it so it was difficult to get data after that initial wave of polls. So you're going to see the second round of polling over later this week and into early next week. And it's going to be really fascinating if the dam has more cracks in it after that.
At what point does it get concerning that the money just isn't going to the campaign anymore? I mean, we've already heard about donor revolts, donors reallocating funds to down-ballot races to strengthen those candidates as opposed to going to the presidential campaign. At what point, Alex, does it get concerning?
It already is concerning. I can tell you inside the campaign, there are deep concerns that the money is going to dry up, that they are going to be significantly outraised this month and potentially in August. There is a hope that, if Biden still sticks this out and is nominated in Chicago on August 22nd, that is the day when he is supposed to be nominated, that donors will come back and rebound just to beat Trump and get them over the line. But yeah, donors, there's an emotional aspect to this too, because donors were told by people like Jeffrey Katzenberg and everyone else that Joe Biden's health was completely fine, that he was completely with it, that the debate Biden did not exist. And that frustration and anger is leading a lot of them to, if not completely outright quit, sort of quiet quit, and that they just aren't giving as much as they would have otherwise.
Right. But when he said, well, if God comes down and tells me I got to leave the race, then maybe I'm starting to believe him that he really believes that. Alex, when push comes to shove and the rubber meets the road, is it up to him?
Yes, there are very few mechanisms to actually push him out of this race. And that's he won the nomination. He is the presumptive nominee. He has the delegates. This is an incredibly personal decision, and it's unclear who can actually sway him. This idea that Barack Obama will come in, their relationship is very complicated. I was talking to somebody just yesterday about that dynamic, and they said, Obama already pushed him out of one presidential race, and that was back in 2015. Yeah. And that's how the Biden world feels. And they basically say, he already did it once. You don't get to do it again.
I mean, I find myself in a unique position, but I would be furious if I knew that Obama and George Clooney were having conversations on the phone about me and whether I should stay in the race. And yeah, go ahead and write. I'm behind the op-ed. I think my head would explode. I don't know what I would do. We wouldn't be having lunch with former President Obama anytime soon in the White House. I can tell you that. And I think that some of these other individuals, if he is reelected, if he runs again and is reelected, hell hath no fury. I think that they might not be welcome in the They may have bigger problems than the reelection, because even if they are reelected, they're not going to be welcome.
Yeah, Joe Biden has tried to argue that he does not hold grudges, but that's just not true.